The Crimson Thread: How the Women of the American Civil War Spied, Sabotaged, and Saved a Nation. Part 1 of 2. The scent of honeysuckle mingled with the acrid stench of sulfur on the humid Richmond air, a deceptive sweetness under a sky perpetually bruised with the smoke of war. For Belle Boyd, it was a familiar paradox. At 17, with eyes as sharp as a sniper's aim and a tongue that could charm a rattlesnake, she found the Southern Belle Act to be the most effective disguise of all. Most men, she observed with a cynical curl of her lip, saw only the frills in the fan, never the steel underneath. And it was steel, cold and honed, that the Confederacy desperately needed. It was the summer of 1862, and the Union's formidable General McClellan, with his Grand Army of the Potomac, was creeping towards the Confederate capital like a sluggish blue serpent. Richmond, a city of grand aspirations and crumbling defenses, held its breath. The stakes were unimaginable. If Richmond fell, the Confederacy would likely crumble with it. Belle, however, wasn't waiting for fate to decide. Her story, though extraordinary, was far from unique. Across the shattered landscape of a divided America, women, often overlooked, underestimated, and deemed too delicate for the brutalities of war, were weaving a complex, often invisible tapestry of espionage, sabotage, and unwavering resilience. Their battles were fought not on fields of mud and blood, but in drawing rooms and dark alleyways, through coded messages and whispered secrets, with courage as their only uniform. Take Elizabeth Van Lew, for instance. In the very heart of Richmond, an aristocratic spinster of staunch Unionist sympathies maintained a household where the silver gleamed and the conversations flowed, all while operating the most effective Union spy ring of the war. Crazy Bette, as the Confederates affectionately and mistakenly called her, was a master of deception. She walked the streets muttering to herself, dressed in disheveled clothes.
Back in Virginia, Belle Boyd was demonstrating her own brand of audacious patriotism. Living near Front Royal, a key strategic point, she was privy to the movements of Union forces occupying the Shenandoah Valley. When Union General Shields' army advanced, threatening Stonewall Jackson's flank, Belle sprang into action. She overheard officers discussing plans, she observed troop dispositions, and, with an urgency that defied propriety, she raced through a hail of bullets to deliver a message directly to Jackson's forces, detailing the Union positions. Her bravery, observed firsthand by Confederate soldiers, was instrumental in Jackson's victory at Front Royal. She became La Belle Rebelle, celebrated and romanticized, yet always at risk. Her arrest and imprisonment followed, but even from her cell, she found ways to smuggle out information. Her most daring act was likely extracting information from a Union officer, Captain Sam Hardinge, who was so charmed by her that he accidentally revealed troop movements, leading to her second arrest. Their unusual relationship later blossomed into marriage, a bizarre testament to the blurred lines between duty and desire in wartime. And then there were the saboteurs, quiet figures working behind enemy lines, often with devastating effect. Mary Richards, a well-known Confederate sympathizer in Washington, D.C., ran a seemingly innocuous dry goods store. Her real business, however, was espionage and subversion. She ran a safe house, provided supplies to Confederate agents, and most importantly, managed to acquire vital military secrets directly from highly placed Union officials, often through seduction and manipulation. Her ring was extensive, her reach surprising. Beyond the named individuals, countless women engaged in acts of resistance that never made it into the annals of history. They hid escaped slaves, guided Union scouts, destroyed enemy supplies, or simply refused to cooperate with occupying forces. In occupied territories, Southern women often flaunted their Confederate loyalties, wearing red, white, and red ribbons, singing rebel songs, and spitting on Union flags, acts of defiance that infuriated but rarely deterred the Northern soldiers. These small acts of psychological warfare contributed to the weariness of the occupying forces, reminding them that the spirit of resistance, much like the honeysuckle and sulfur, was always present. The end of the war, however, brought a complex silence for these women. The structured patriarchal society that existed before the conflict reasserted itself with renewed vigor. The extraordinary roles women had played were often downplayed, erased, or deemed unladylike. Elizabeth Van Lew, Crazy Bette, found herself ostracized and impoverished in Richmond, her Union loyalty unforgiven by her Confederate neighbors. She died largely forgotten, her incredible contributions only slowly recognized posthumously. Sarah Emma Edmonds, Franklin Thompson, struggled for years to receive her veteran's pension, eventually achieving it only after a long fight to prove her wartime service as a man. The collective memory of the Civil War became dominated by the narratives of soldiers and generals, of grand battles and political maneuvers, yet the crimson thread of female agency ran through every significant moment. They were the unseen hands that turned the tide, the whispered words that altered campaigns, the quiet acts of courage that saved lives and shaped destinies. Their ingenuity, their resilience, and their sheer audacity remind us that history is rarely as straightforward as we are taught. It is a mosaic of countless, often uncredited individual struggles. The stories of Belle Boyd, Elizabeth Van Lew, and Sarah Emma Edmonds, along with countless anonymous women, are not just footnotes, they are integral chapters in the grand, tumultuous saga of the American Civil War. They demonstrate that war is fought on many fronts, and that courage, cunning, and conviction know gender. The nation that emerged from the ashes of that brutal conflict owed as much to the women who worked in the shadows as it did to the men who fought in the sun. Their legacy, though long obscured, is a powerful testament to the indomitable spirit of those who dared to defy expectations and, in their own remarkable ways, helped to define America.